to the September edition of the Newbie Group. We're really looking forward to today. I know we haven't met in about 2 or 3 months. What we'd like you to do is, as other people still sign in, just go out to chat, tell us where you're from, and if you had anything that you did during the summer, a special vacation or something, just put that in the chat also, and we'll kind of look at that while you guys are entering in, and in a few minutes, we're going to start the meeting. I'll just share with you, today's kind of a special day. Today's my wedding anniversary. So if any of you are having anything special today, if it's a special day for you, put that in the chat also so that we know to celebrate your special day also.
Congratulations, Jim.
Congratulations.
You see, that's nice of you guys. That's nice of you guys to say that. Congratulations. My wife said something else this morning. Oh, yes, I have this to do. On our wedding anniversary.
How many years, Jim? Can we ask?
I have sworn Klaus to secrecy, but let me put it like this: if you take all of your ages together, you're kind of approaching how many years I've been married.
Wow! Happy anniversary!
Yesterday was my 12-year anniversary since joining Tableau.
I meant to mention that. I saw that, and congratulations! 12 years. That's,
12 years.
You must have started when they were doing Tableau 5 or 6.
Well, I started using Tableau. I bought Tableau in January 2008 was when I purchased my first license in Tableau version 3.5. They had just introduced dashboards as a feature.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. My first recollection, I was working with a client. The first Tableau that I owned was Tableau 9. And they were on 8.
Yeah.
And for those of Andy knows, but for those of you who don't know, between 8 and 9 is when LODs came in. And it was a big change after that.
Yeah.
Big change after that.
Yeah. It's certainly changed over time.
Yeah.
I think I started with 10.2 and the introduction of Hyper.
Hyper. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I guess that's a question I'd love to ask of all the people attending. How long have they been using Tableau? So fill that in the chat as well.
Yeah. Drop that in, please.
Yeah, that would be great.
Tracy, I see you out in Chattanooga there. We're going to be down that way this weekend. So nice to see you.
One of the things I love about Tableau with all the new versions and integrations that are implemented, you're continuing to learn. So this newbie tug just continues to be valuable because there's so many new things over the years that have evolved and changed that we could continue to bring into our workflows, into our dashboards.
Wendy's out there 10 years.
10 years. Wow.
Well done, Wendy.
Good job, Wendy.
Yeah, and there's a few under a year as well, a couple of 6 months as well. So welcome.
Barrage has a saying that we're all newbies at something, and he's absolutely right. Hey, Klaus, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. We know that a lot of you are new to the newbie user group. This might be your first meeting here. Just a little housekeeping so that you know what's going on. All the meetings are recorded. Those recordings will be available out on our Bevy site, the home for the newbie group, and it usually takes us a couple of days to get those out there. But all the recordings will be out there. Past recordings are also out there if you want to go out and take a look. You've already figured out that you can't communicate with us, and that's because there's going to be a lot of people on the call. And if you could just communicate with us through the chat, and if you have a question, this is real important. Go to the Q&A tab on the chat and use that to post your questions, and we'll monitor that, and we'll try to get all your questions answered. But you can communicate back and forth with each other on the chat itself. Now, a little bit about the group itself. Klaus and I started this group. We're just about at the end of our second year, and we try to meet every 6 to 8 weeks. Now, the group itself, we call it the Newbie Group, but it's not just for new users. It's for anybody who's trying to elevate their skills from where they are to the next level. And as we saw in the chat, some people here are, 8, 10 years using Tableau. We can always learn something. Now, there's 2 parts to the meeting. There's the how does that work part that Jim, that's me, that Klaus and I usually do. And today it's going to be Klaus and Reyes. and we're going to get to see Reyes, and we're going to get to see Reyes in action. Reyes has been with us now for about a year, I believe. And then we have a guest speaker today who is Andy Cotgrave, and I think you all know who Andy is, but we've got a nice introduction for him coming up. Klaus, let's go to the next one. Special congratulations today. Viraj made it, everybody. We're so proud of you. Viraj is one of our co-leaders. I'm going to let you talk in just a second, but Viraj is one of our co-leaders. He's been with us from the start. He has worked like you just can't imagine. And if any of you are involved with user groups in the transition to Bevy, you know who Viraj is because he's been very, very active over the last 6 months trying to get us all straightened out on Bevy and how it works. And he made ambassador this year, first time. Congratulations, Viraj. We're proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Viraj. Thanks for all you do.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, for today's agenda, after I get done fumbling around here for a little bit, we're going to have Reyes and Klaus are going to speak on parameters. And I can tell you this, I know a lot of it from the forums. Parameters are some of the most misunderstood functions in Tableau. And I hope after today, everybody really understands how they work. And then Andy's going to speak to us on levers that you can push and pull when you're building charts. And then I think we're going to have time for a little Kahoots quiz. And that should be fun also.
I'm hoping so.
Okay. Now, we're now on today's September 20th, and we're covering parameters. Our next meeting, and you might want to put this on your calendar, is going to be October 26th. And at that time, we're going to be talking, and it's going to be, Viraj and I are going to be talking about formatting measures and how you can do that dynamically. And I know this comes up a lot also. I'll let you in on a secret also. Our guest speaker at that meeting is going to be Jenny Martin, and Jenny's going to talk on Tableau prep. And if you remember about a year ago, Carl talked about prep. It was one of the most attended meetings that we had. So tell your friends and plan on it also, because Tableau prep is something that we don't talk about enough. And she is really, really good at that. And then in December, we're going to have one more meeting on the 6th of December. That's after Thanksgiving and before everybody gets in the holidays. And we're going to be talking about leveraging the power of your dashboard. So you might want to plan on that also. Well, let's go ahead, Klaus. Here's the team. And not everybody is present today. You've met Viraj, Klaus. You just want to say hi to everybody? We can see you, Klaus. You can't see them.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good to see you all again, and thanks for joining the meeting. My name is Klaus. I'm a professor at Münster School of Business in Germany, and I've been using Tableau for quite a while now, since 2017. I'm happy to be part of this group, and I'm looking forward to the demo I will today on parameters.
Okay, and Laura, you're in Chicago. You want to just introduce yourself?
I am in the office today, so there's some events going on, so that's why I muted myself. Hi, I'm Laura. I'm from Chicago, USA, and I've been using Tableau, I believe, for 3 years now. I work in a law firm, so my Tableau usage has been kind of all over the place, but we use it mostly for financial analysis and risk analysis. So it's been a specifically niche use of Tableau, and I really enjoy doing that. So thank you.
And Enid and Maddie are in Indianapolis. They're not on the call today. Enid is out on maternity, and Madeline just got married. She's in Paris, I think, on her honeymoon. She's in France on her honeymoon. So congratulations to both of you. Reyes, you want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Reyes. I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado, at least for now. I've been using Tableau for about 3 years now, specifically in the pharmaceutical industry where I work. I've been using it to enhance and tell data stories. So I continue to learn, and I've learned so much being a part of this Newbies hug, and look forward to all of our future sessions together.
Okay, and I'm Jim Daner, and I'm in Nashville, and I know many of you from some of the work I do on the forums. I'm a 3-time visionary, and I'm also a Tableau ambassador. Andy, you want to just say hi to everybody before we get started?
Yeah, sure. My name's Andy Cotgreave. Current title is Senior Data Evangelist at Tableau, as you might have heard at the start. It's 12 years to the week since I started at Tableau, and I was a customer back in 2007. I co-authored the Big Book of Dashboards. I co-host IronViz, and basically, if you chop me in half, Tableau's right through to the core of me because it's the best software I ever used. So it's great to be here with a bunch of newbies. I love this user group.
Okay. Klaus, let's go ahead.
I think Viraj is still missing.
Oh, Viraj is still missing. I'm sorry, Viraj. Yes, Viraj.
Hi. Hi, my name is Viraj and I'm from Mumbai, India. And as I always say, I'm a newbie by heart, Tableau newbie by heart, and very happy to be calling myself a Tableau ambassador because I'm passionate about community, Tableau, and data fam. You can find me, by searching Data Tastemaker, and happy to connect with you all.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's start with our first part.
I'm going to silence myself.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you, Jim, for letting me step in your place. This is usually the Jim and Klaus show. And today it is the Reyes and Klaus show. So I had the opportunity to come up with an idea for what we could discuss today. And I'm very passionate about using parameters in my dashboards and my stories. And I thought it'd be a great subject that we could dive into for the team. So we're going to go into parameters and how do they work. Next slide, please.
Wait a second. So something happened with our deck, or did you we lost the slide?
We did lose the slide. Okay.
Wait a second. No, we lost the slide. I don't know how.
Technical difficulties. It's fine. We could start with this one, but first I'll just give a little background on the difference between filters and parameters. I think that Jim spoke to parameters being misunderstood. If you look at some of the drop downs,
it's back. It's back.
Perfect. Thank you, Klaus. I think I added this little image on the right and showed an example of a filter and a parameter. They look very similar by all means in your dashboard. So how do they differ? Well, succinctly, I think filters in Tableau are used to directly limit the data displayed in a visualization based on specific conditions tied to the data fields, whereas parameters offer a bit more flexibility, allowing for user-defined values and advanced calculations. These can also be used across multiple worksheets and dashboards for enhanced interactivity. So again, really think about customizability when we're working with parameters. So this definition of a parameter is directly from Tableau. A parameter is a workbook variable such as a number, date, string, or Boolean that can replace a constant value in a calculation, filter, or reference line band. We could use them in calculated fields, reference lines. We could create dynamic filters, define our histogram bins, or set up all kinds of advanced navigation features. Next slide, please. So how do parameters work? And they really start with the parameter window. So that's what we're looking at here. We have, a section where we could create our parameter. We can name our parameter, which is very helpful as you start using parameters across workbooks or worksheets. We have the different properties associated with the data type and the display format. And then we have a different allowable values. So in this case, we have all selected. If you hit next, we have a list where we can put predefined user lists. This is where that customizability really comes into play. And then we have ranges of values. So if we want to filter or add a reference line that has a range from low to high, we can predefine that in a parameter and then save that so it's dynamically added to our workbooks as we load them up. Next slide. To use these parameters, we have to put them into different actions. And these different features can be used in calculated fields, as we see here. Next, please. We could use them in reference lines, and you could actually create parameters from reference lines, which I think Klaus is going to walk us through later. And then we could also use them in filters. So along with filters, we could use parameters to set those. Next slide, please. parameter actions, I think, are probably the most valuable use with parameters. This is what I typically use in my day-to-day opportunity to help my audience or my clients change the parameter value through direct interactions in our visualization, such as clicking or selecting a mark, which can dynamically adjust reference lines, change our filters, like I said, implement advanced navigation features, drill downs, or set up dynamic zone visibility, which hopefully we'll get a live demo of that, because I think it's one of the more powerful and interesting functions that we could do with parameters as we set up more complicated visualizations, whether it be a dashboard or a story. So with that, that's a high-level overview of parameters, how we tend to use them. And I think, Klaus, I'll hand it off to you and walk us through a live demo of creating parameters, as well as a few different examples.
Yeah, thanks, Reyes, for the intro. Yeah, we've put some sources here. This slide, maybe some prominent authors who wrote about parameters. But really, if you search for content around parameters, you will really find a lot, and there are so many use cases and yeah, great things you can do with parameters. Reyes and I decided to do 2 demos today. The first one I named Swap It Like It's Hot, and you will very soon see why. And for the second demo, we will look a little bit into parameter actions, so changing parameters by interacting with a visualization, and give you a brief intro into that topic and to give you an idea of what you can do with it. So let's jump to Tableau. And yeah, we'd like to start at the very beginning. So the first step we want to dive into is how to create a parameter. And like always in Tableau, there are different ways to create a parameter. So first of all, you could just right-click into the data pane and create a parameter. Now, this way you can bring up that window. You can create a parameter here from the black triangle, which is my preferred way of creating it. So same functionality. Or you can right-click any field here in the data pane and create a parameter from there. Now, this way you will always populate a list of allowable values directly from that field. Then you can also create a parameter from the filter menu. So for example, if you go to, if you want to create a top or bottom end filter, you can select the top feature here and then create a parameter right from that dialog here. And then you would get a range allowable values parameter. Yeah, so that's also possible. You can also do that with a reference line. Oh, I somehow lost my date field. Let's bring it back. Sorry for that. So if you want to create a reference line, for example, on a date axis, you can right-click the axis, add a reference line, and like Reyes said, you can also create a parameter right from that menu. And in this case, it would be obviously a date or date time parameter in this case. Yeah. So this way we can create parameters. And then the next step to after we've created a parameter would then be to actually show that parameter. I've prepared a parameter here. And to show a parameter, there are 2 ways. You can right-click the parameter and show the parameter. So in this case here, there are obviously some measures you can select from. So that would be one way. And the second way would be to go to analysis and then to parameters and bring on that one. Yeah. So this way you can bring them to the view, and you can change the parameters from drop-downs or from a list of values. Then, Reyes, you already talked about the properties. Just very briefly, let's look into that one. So here we have a name, we have the data type. So you can select from any available data type, float, integer, string, Boolean, date, and date time. Then display format, you can do all kind of formatting like you can do with any other field in Tableau. you can select the current value from a list, or if we have all values allowed, then you would see the all value here in the current value. And a quite handy feature is the value when workbook opens. So if you leave it to current value, it will have the value that is the current value also when the workbook opens. But you can also add a value from another parameter, or for example also from a calculated field. Now, I always use that, or I often use that with dates. So for example, if I want to have the maximum date in my data set in a parameter, I will calculate that value with a LOD calculation, and then I could point this parameter here to that LOD calculation, and this way I will get the latest value, the latest available date into my parameter. Then we have allowable values. So Reyes also talked about that. So we can have a list of values, and we can add values to that list from a field. So for example, if I create a parameter from my subcategory field, then all members of that dimension would be in that list of allowable values. And I could even make that dynamic by saying whenever the workbook opens, please add all values from that subcategory field to this list, or update this list. And this way we could also catch new values in this subcategory dimension. So these are the main properties, I guess. And we will work with this now in the first demo. Okay, so first demo, we want to create something very dynamic, a top, bottom, end list with different dimensions and different measures. We want our audience to switch between top and bottom values, and we also want some dynamic filtering on the number of values in the list. So we need a couple of parameters to do that. So we need 4 parameters and some calculated fields, and I will guide you through the steps to do that. So first of all, we want different measures to be displayed. And to do that, I will create a parameter which will be my measure swapper. And for that, I'm using a string data type, and I will create a list where I have my different measures. I will have sales, profit, and profit ratio. So these are my 3 values and my 3 measures I want to select from. Now remember what Reyes said. If we have a parameter, here I can show it. Let's also show all values. So we have sales, profit, and profit ratio. And to be able to use it, we need to implement it into a calculation. So my variable measure, I'm using a case statement. Let's bring that a little bit up. And I'm defining my measure based on the measure swapper parameter. When it's sales, I want to see the sum of sales. When it's profit, I want to see the sum of profit. And when it's profit ratio, I want to see profit ratio. So profit ratio is already an aggregation. That's why I also had to aggregate sales and profit. So this will be my variable measure. Then I will do the same for my dimensions. Again, I'm creating a parameter. And this will be my dimension swapper. And I'm not using a string type, but an integer type, just to show you that this is also possible. So for the value of 1, I will use state. For 2, I will use customer name or just customer. And for 3, I will use subcategory. Like that. Okay, let's also show this parameter. You see it's an integer parameter, but you see the values that I just typed in to be displayed as. And I will use, again, this parameter in a calculated field for my variable dimension. So case dimension swapper, when 1, then we want to see state. When 2, we want to see customer name. And when 3, we want to see the subcategory. Okay, good. And now we can already start building out our visualization. So we have our variable dimension and our variable measure. And now I can already start changing the parameters. So right now we are looking at sales and states. This way we would look at profit and states, or profit and subcategories, or profit and customers, or profit ratio. So like that, we are able to change the dimensions we are looking at here on rows, and the measure we are looking at on columns. So that's already it. Now we also want to toggle between top and bottom. Therefore, I need another parameter. This will be my top bottom parameter. And this will also be an integer and a list. And it has a value of 1 for my top and of -1 for my bottom. And you will see why 1 and -1 in a second. Okay, so this is the top and bottom parameter, and we will use this one in our sort field. So we need to sort our variable measure to be able to toggle between top and bottom. And this is just the variable measure sort, This is just the variable measure times my top bottom parameter. So if it's top, then it's times 1, and if it's bottom, it's times -1. Okay, and I will sort my variable dimension by this field, by the variable measure sort. Okay, good. Let's see if that works. Top bottom parameter is this one. So bottom, top, bottom, and you see that we can switch the list and now start with the smallest value. And when we toggle to top, we have the highest value on top. Okay, last step, let's implement that top n feature. So we don't want to see or select from the list here, but use all values in the general setting and switch to top. And want to create a parameter here. So this will be our top, or this will be our n basically. And let's limit that range to 1 to 20. Okay, good. That's okay. I cannot show it yet. And we also need to change this one to the variable measure sort. I think we have everything together now. So we could now change this parameter and have more or less values in the list. We can toggle between top and bottom, and we can toggle between the different dimensions and measures. So this way we can use a couple of parameters to really customize the view. And when you format that a little bit, you get a nice little dashboard, a nice little application where your user can select from the dimensions and measures he or she is interested in, and can do all kind of things to really customize the view. Yeah, so that was one example. Second example, and this will lead us to parameter actions. That will be a quite short one. So imagine we want to compare a measure for subcategories to a selected subcategory. Yeah. So for example, what we could do is to compare the sales of one of all subcategories to a selected one. And to do that, I will create a table calculation, a % of total calculation. And I will compute using my subcategory dimension. And when I do, wait a second, % of total subcategory. Percent. Oh no, not % of total. I'm sorry, % difference we need to do. Yeah, like that. And then you will be able to select the relative to. So for example, I could calculate this % difference from compared to, I don't know, let's say bookcases. And when I then sort this view, yeah, so bookcases is here in the middle, and we see chairs is 191% more sales than the bookcases, and fasteners have 92.6% less sales than bookcases. And we can dynamically change the subcategory that is selected here in the table calculation by again creating a parameter from the subcategory field. Yeah, this will create a list parameter with all subcategories in that list, and then select this one here relative to that parameter that we've just created. So like that, we can then show the parameter and change the parameter to get a different basis when we compare the different subcategories. Yeah. So, and then parameter actions, we can set up a parameter action on the dashboard after some formatting. And this is basically just very, very straightforward. We can select the source sheet to change or to where we will apply that action, then select the parameter. So this is the one I prepared beforehand. Select the source field, which holds the values that we want to populate the parameter with. And that's basically it. And then you can just select one of the fields here or one of the bars in the visualization to dynamically change the basis to do the comparison. Okay, Reyes, do you want to add anything?
I think that was fantastic. You covered all of the dynamic changes, which I think is, again, when you talk about enhancing data stories and data visualizations, this is one of those key aspects that can really help tell and share the story. So thank you, Klaus. You knocked it out.
Are there any questions in the chat?
We have been getting hammered with questions in the chat. I think we're current with them. Viraj, I know I answered a few. You answered a few. Are there any that have not been answered at this point?
Not actually. We have answered everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is a super summary. I would say this, like I say, anytime there's a presentation on how to do something, the way you learn Tableau is by doing it. So get in a workbook, create a simple data set, and practice, and just do it and see what it does. And if you have questions at that point, come on out to the forum, ask the questions there. We'll gladly answer them for you. Klaus, I think we're ready to move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's a thrill to have Andy. All of a sudden, you changed positions in the lineup here, and I lost you there for a second. It's a thrill to have Andy with us. I think most of you know Andy if you've ever been to TC or Dreamforce you would have seen Andy there. He is a fixture. He is a legend. He is known throughout the community. As he mentioned before, he's the senior data evangelist for Tableau. He co-authored the big book of dashboards, and when I started using it, that was the Bible. That was where you went to learn how to do dashboards. He co-hosts.
It still is. It still is.
It still is. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it still is, by all means. And I have to tell you, he's here today, but the real Andy is going to join us today. This is the Andy that Klaus and I know. Andy, it's a thrill to have you here with us today. The stage is yours, my friend.
Oh, thanks so much. Just leave that there for a minute. So that when IronViz went virtual during the pandemic, they said, Andy, we've got this idea in the script. Do you think you'd want to dress up as a rock star? And I'm like, would I? Let me go and see what I can do. So Tableau, I was very privileged to expense all of that costume to Tableau in homage to sort of Lemmy and Alice Cooper. So what a good time that was. Well, thank you for reminding me of that. Right, I guess I shall share my screen.
Yes.
I am not able to share my screen at the moment. Hosts, there you go. I can. Thanks for the chat about parameters. I remember when they came out in version 6 of Tableau, which was a massive release of Tableau back in 2010. It was might have even been the release we did Tableau public. Big monumental time.
Before my time. Before
many people's times. Right, can I just do a quick time check? Sorry, are we finishing at the top of the hour or after the top of the hour?
We will go after the top of the hour if you need it.
But the schedule is just an hour, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
No, actually, we're scheduled longer than that, Andy. So
okay. All right.
We're actually scheduled an hour and a half, so they can go. You can go as long as you need.
All right. Well, I will try and sort of fit somewhere in between that to keep everybody happy. So, Jim, while you're unmuted, and answer me this question: what chart would you use to show this data?
I would probably use a couple of lines on the line chart.
All righty, fantastic. A couple of lines on the line chart. Right. Hopefully, everybody else has been thinking about that. Right. As we carry on, I do have my eye on Q&A and chat. I'll try and field any interjections you have along the way, but apologies if I don't. So, we've got a line chart. Well, of course, Jim's sigh was the answer I really wanted to hear there, because the answer to which chart is, well, what do you want to show? Here are completely valid questions. Even B did better than A or A did better than B. And when we're building charts, again, this is something you're going to learn with Tableau. Get involved, get in the data, find the story you want to tell, and then choose the right chart to fit the question. I mean, this one blows me away. This data is not the data I showed. It's made up data. But if I want to show that B is best, I can show the mean average. And if I want to show that A is best, I can show the median average. They're both legitimate statistical aggregations, and they both enable me to tell a completely different story. That's not because the data is biased. That's me choosing a statistical aggregation to tell a different story of the data. This is the power we have, and we need to wield when we use Tableau. The answer that Jim was probably reluctant to say is it depends. And we're going to look at that in more detail in the next sort of 25 to 30 minutes or so. I don't need to add much more of an introduction to myself. I'm just going to paste my LinkedIn details into the chat. So if you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn or on my newsletter. But here's another silly photo of me. This is me at the village centre of a village in Kent, South England, called Great Chart. My family were delighted to be dragged along there as we travelled to France earlier this year, but possibly the best named village in England. Maybe I should go and retire there. Anyway, let's carry on. How did I get to the answer? It depends for the right to be the right answer to any question. Well, a quick bit of history. Back in 2007 and 8, when I was starting my life as a data analyst, I became a big disciple of Stephen Few. His books, really important in the field. Show me the numbers, and now you see it. And he preached a very purist, precision-based approach to data visualization. If it isn't about speed and accuracy, it isn't data visualization. And I fell for that. I really became a disciple of that approach. Around the same time, many people such as David McCandless were doing something different. His books, Information and Knowledge is Beautiful, were beautiful books. And he was taking an approach where you could take data visualization and make it beautiful, whimsical, fun, engaging, even inaccurate. Well, not inaccurate, but hard to decode, right? But they look gorgeous. And this flew completely in the face of the belief system that I developed under Stephen Few. Many online debates ensued. But what was it to be? My belief system was being challenged. On the one hand, I thought Stephen Few was right. Charts should be pure. But who was selling millions of books and getting TED Talks? Well, that was David McCandless. And this was a real contradiction in terms for me. And gradually my belief system was getting chipped away. And should my adherence to Stephen Few be challenged? Well, eventually it was challenged to the point that I actually had an epiphany. And I was like, aha, I understand. This, by the way, is when I asked Midjourney to take a photograph of me and change it to a picture of me having an epiphany, this is what Midjourney thinks it would come up with. It gave me a beard. I don't know why, but and better teeth actually as well, which was nice. Anyway, I had an epiphany, and that led me to writing an article in Huffington Post in October 14, saying I've worked today out how a data viz expert from an amateur. The answer to that question I put in the text in the article is you can answer any question with the wise answer, it depends. Ha ha ha, right? A nice, simple, tweetable answer that, it makes for a bit of a giggle. And it turned into something of a meme. On Twitter, this happened lots of times. People across the field would, if there was a question of chart choice in Twitter, then people would be like, well, Andy says it depends. So, I'd created a Tableau meme. I've created a meme that had some life in it and all was good. I thought I was great. But there was dissent. There were people who were legitimately asking questions. Nick Debarat is another great author in this field. He's just released a great book called Practical Charts. He tweeted this 2 years ago. Well, hey, Andy, it depends covers all the bases, but that's a problem. It's basically meaningless. We can do better. I'm like, oh, ouch. It wasn't just Nick saying that. Jeff, my book co-author of Big Book of Dashboards, also gave me a bit of a hard time because he said, well, look, it's great saying it depends, but when you go to newbies, like here we are, that doesn't really help them. Because we need a better answer to the question, it depends on what? That is what we're trying to convey. And so for you today, I have the answer to that question. I'm probably only going to do 4 of these 6 sections in the interest of time. And I might skip through a couple of them quite quickly. So what does it depend on? Well, first, we have to consider the audience. Anytime you are building a visualization that is going to be delivered to somebody else, you've got to think, well, what is the audience? Is it your boss? Is it your friends? Is it your peers? Is it your entire organization? Will they understand the charts you are going to build? Do they have the literacy and the time to understand the charts you're building? What is the message you are trying to convey? We just saw how I can sell you on option A or option B in that data set. You have that power to frame that message. And it isn't always possible to be neutral. You are a curator, an editor, a storyteller, an artist working in this beautiful data science. When we wrote the Book of Dashboards, we kind of came up with this mantra that a number of people provide them the greatest degree of understanding while requiring them to spend the effort on deciphering your visuals. I do stand by that in a business environment in 99% of circumstances, but I'm still going to say it depends. And we'll come on to that in a moment. We've thought about the audience. As we're doing that, we're thinking about what the right chart is. Now, I'm going to go through this really quickly because we've already seen the answer. So I'm not going to go in this detail. What is the right chart choice? With this example, I could draw another 10 different chart types, even with that simple data set. So the scope and the width of choice you have with the charts you choose it expands obviously hugely as your data gets more complicated. You've got to hunt for the best articulation of the data. But even when you've got the right chart choice, it depends on what I call the levers. This is what I'm going to focus on for the next 20 or 15 to 20 minutes. As I thought, well, what does it depend on? I came to realize that whenever you're formatting charts, you can choose to push or pull different levers in different ways. And I kind of over years have honed in on what I've developed as the levers model. So six levers you can push and pull to change the way a viz looks in order to achieve the goal and the message you're trying to convey. So let's go through them. So the first, L, is for level of detail. Charts you build could be granular, have high level of detail, and be very information dense. For an example, I'm going to choose this. This is from Wall Street Journal. It came out in 2016, went on to win some awards, and was done by Tynan de Bold and his team. And the article showed the impact of vaccinations on various different diseases. This is the one for polio. Already, in the length of time it's taken me for just to describe where the chart's from, you've seen a bunch of very colorful squares, a black line where the vaccine was introduced, and polio pretty much disappeared from the US. So we've got time on the x-axis, and one row for each US state on the x here. Now, this is a marvelous visualization. It caused a stir on social media at the time. It was innovative. And then it's got really great detail. You can go and interact with this visualization on the WSJ page to get detail of every single year for every single state. With any innovative chart, sometimes people will say things. And soon enough, we had a different version of the same data by Randy Olson, who's another great person in the field, works at Our World in Data in Oxford. And he was like, yeah, but what if we just did this as a line chart? Wouldn't that be more sparse and therefore more quick to share insight and therefore better? He didn't quite say it would be better. He said it would be speedier to the insight. Now, with the line chart, it's easier to see that polio was rising before the vaccine and then it dropped off a cliff. But this is a very sparse version of the chart. You have this choice when you are visualizing data. Which is the right one? The reason Tynan de Bold and team published the granular version and not the line chart was two reasons. First of all, they liked the way it looked. That's legit. Secondly, they wanted to provide the visual impact of the vaccination introduction and then allow people to interact and look at any individual state or year. That secondary level of exploration is not available in this. Oh, telephone for Andy. Let me just get rid of that. I'll just turn it off. Right. Stop it. Sorry, everybody. You know what's really annoying about WhatsApp telephone calls is you can't get to WhatsApp very quickly. That's done. Right, dealt with. So they made this choice to be granular. And in fact, this episode made me coin something I call Cock-Greaves law. Because Randy Olson had said, well, this chart's cool, but it should have been a line chart. And I notice this happens a lot in this field. So the longer an innovative visualization exists, such as this one, the probability that someone says it should have been a line or a bar chart approaches 1. It's something we have to catch ourselves out. We have to be careful not to catch ourselves out with as data viz practitioners. Sure, every chart could have been a bar or line chart. That doesn't mean it would necessarily have been better because you've got to think about the purpose. But that's our first lever, level of detail. How much granularity do you want to put in your charts? Second one is E for emotion. We can make charts dry and pure, like Stephen Few wanted. This is a chart showing the air quality for a period of a week in Sheffield, which is a city in the north of England, in November 2014. The higher the bar, the worse the air quality. So the more pollution was, the more toxins were in the air at the time. If you are British, you will know that 5th of November is our sort of bonfire night when we set off fireworks. So you can see the impact of fireworks on air quality in Sheffield. Now, if you're an environmental consultant working in Sheffield, this is a great chart. It's dry, it's pure, you can see the accuracy. But what I want to show you is how Miriam Quick and Stephanie Posovich visualized this data for an exhibition in the center of Sheffield off the High Street. Yes, a necklace, right? A necklace where each segment represents the same time period of one of the bars, the color and size and shape coding the air quality at that time period, and the big red thing is bonfire night itself. What? Andy, is this data visualization? Well, Stephen Few and I had a huge argument about whether this is. I say it is, right? Why would you do this? Well, what Miriam and Stephanie were doing was creating an exhibition to engage non-data people in the gist or a general sense of what air quality is like in Sheffield. Are those people the kind of people who wanted to look at boring bar charts? I don't think they're boring, but we know what I mean. With the necklace, they got this visceral, physical sense of the data that provided an emotional experience. You probably don't want to be building necklaces for business dashboards, but there are loads of situations, I think, where this might be a good approach, even in a business organization. Certainly on Tableau Public, emotion and engagement is a slightly higher goal. Yeah, so Rishab, I don't know if I've got your name right. Yeah, you say emotive is more engaging. That's absolutely right. And that might be our goal, engagement. V is for vagueness. Do we want to be precise or ambiguous? Well, for this, we're going back to January 22, New York Times. They published this chart on a webpage about predicted cases in January 22. What was happening back then was that the month of January looked like it was going to be an absolute shocker for COVID. So COVID was rising much higher relative to all the other months in the pandemic, and the projection was pretty nasty. Precise, using slope and angle and lines for accuracy. What if you wanted to do the same data in an ambiguous way? This, everybody, if you haven't seen it, is the famous, infamous tapeworm chart, also by the New York Times. What on earth is going on here? This also is emotive to many people because they recoiled in horror. I, however, would suggest, or will now suggest, this is a great visualization. What are we seeing? The timeline starts here. It goes round in a spiral. The width of the pink tapeworm section is the amount of COVID. And you can see in January, it was getting really bad. Why would you do this? Well, if you went to the tweet in which the New York Times promoted this article, they used the spiral chart. Why would they use a chart like this on Twitter? Because the job of a tweet on Twitter is to stop people scrolling and go, huh? What? Oh, and then click the link. And if you click the link, they would then go and see the accurate chart. Again, big impact on the date of his field when this came out in January 22. I think this is legit for trying to stop people scrolling and get engagement. It's not accurate. You can't decode the data accurately on this, but that was not the purpose. In this one, you can do accurate decoding. So consider the purpose to consider V for vagueness. E is for X. I don't know if it should be exploratory or explanatory, but they are both begin with E. Not every chart you build will be part of a dashboard. Often you will be building charts for presentations where you are the data storyteller standing in front of them. This is Hans Rosling keynoting in Tableau Conference 2013. Hans Rosling was the best data storyteller we'd ever seen, one of the best data storytellers we'd ever seen. Go check out his TED Talks and BBC documentaries if you've not seen them. And he knew the power of visuals when he was the man in front of them telling the story. He had this brilliant, massive 4-meter long stick as a prop, and the visuals were optimized for a big screen. So if you're building a chart where you are telling the story, you're going to optimize differently to when you are going to build a chart for exploration. Dashboards, such as this one from the Big Book of Dashboards, is designed for exploration. It's dense. It's got red dots to draw attention to where things need to happen. The filters are consistent, and the chart design is consistent. I would hope none of you would ever use an image like this to drive a presentation, because this is not optimized or useful for presentation purposes. Andrew says, indeed, the pointer stick is hilarious. It was genius. What a genius move. He was very, very good presenter. Okay, R is for rapidity. Some people say charts should be understandable in less than a second. Seth Godin, famous marketing author, says that. Nancy Duarte, who does a lot of presentation stuff, she said that at Dreamforce just last week. I will propose a disagreement. So to talk about slow, let's go back to this photograph of me in the Village Great chart and have a look at the chart that is on my t-shirt. Those of you who know your data history might have recognized it as Charles Minard's 1869 data visualization of Napoleon's march to Moscow in 1812. You can actually even see this on my wall behind me. Some of you may have seen this chart. Some of you may not have seen this chart. Edward Tufte called it the greatest statistical graph in the world. Laura says, what a t-shirt. And Anna Astora says, you've got it on your wall as well. You love it. That's great. So some of you have seen this chart. Some of you have not. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go into much detail about what this chart shows. This link here will take you to a video of me explaining the chart, but it would normally take me 3 minutes. I'm going to go, Napoleon started here with 50,000 soldiers. He marched to Moscow and the Russians were scorching the earth, decimating Napoleon's armies. They got to Moscow. There was nobody in Moscow to fight. They'd evacuated and torched the city, so Napoleon had to retreat. That's the black line. It was now the depths of winter. It's extremely cold. Terrible loss of life for the Berezhny River. And he finally gets back to where he started with about 10,000 soldiers left. So terrible military folly. Haven't really done that chart justice because there's all sorts of more things going on. But the point I want to raise is this. Imagine that Field Marshal Kutuzov had that chart in his back pocket, or had already designed this chart. Who the heck is Field Marshal Michael Kutuzov? Well, he was the guy in charge of the Russian army in 1812. He came up with the scorched earth policy. And imagine he's having a chat with Alexander, who was the emperor of Russia at the time. And they were having their chat on their old archaic telephone text interface. It's a flight of fancy. You've got to go with me on this. And Alexander says, well done. You smashed Napoleon. Mikhail says, well, hey, should we have some vodka? Alexander says, yeah, but actually, can you do a PowerPoint presentation summarizing the campaign first? Nervous. Yeah, sure. How long am I going to have in the meeting? 2 minutes. It's a busy agenda. We've all been there, right? And since it's the emperor's meeting, you can bet they all waffled on because they all love the sound of their voices, and that 2 minutes would have been squeezed to about 10 seconds. I will share the link to the video in a moment. Oh, Viraj has shared the link to the video. Look at that. That is quality hosting. So, sorry, let's go back. So imagine he had this chart. He built this chart. And this was actually done in 1869. So this is fiction, right? But this is not the right chart for a short presentation. It takes minutes to explain. This is what you could have done instead. Hi, Alexander and team. Great to be here. Just want to summarize the campaign. It's been an incredible campaign against Napoleon. Essentially, we killed or captured 98% of his soldiers. So thanks very much. We have much more detail in the department. Do make a follow-up appointment with you, and I can tell you the deeper story. Now let's go have some fun. That's much care, right? It is okay to build this type of chart. It is even okay to use this chart in a presentation if you bring it to life by explaining the whole thing to the people you're explaining it to. If you only have 1 second, this one's going to get the message across quickly. You have that choice, slow or fast. The final one is S for sneakiness. When you build charts, you can be honest or dishonest. You can intentionally be dishonest, or you can accidentally be dishonest. And either way, you should never be dishonest, right? It's really easy to make mistakes, to be deceptive charts. This is an example of an intentionally deceptive chart. That comes from the Treasury, the UK government sort of financial department, and it shows inflation. And look at them. Jeremy Hunt is saying, let's celebrate the fall in inflation. How much has inflation reduced according to this tweet? Well, I've taken the labels off, but if you look at the bars, which is what we do when we see charts, it looks like, it's gone down about 25%. Well done, government. Hurrah. Some of you might already have noticed that actually this y-axis starts at 7% and the bar goes down to 7%. Let's see what happens if we extend the axis to 0. Oh, government. Oh, government. How much has inflation reduced? Well, actually, it's only gone down a small percentage. So they were trying to celebrate this reduction of inflation, even though the reduction was really pretty small. This is an egregious example of chart deception. Truncating y-axes on bar charts is just I will never say near universal no. This one even inspired Ed Humphreys to write to David Paris. So that's the Office for Statistics Regulation in the UK, writing to the Treasury saying, this chart is deceptive. Come on, you can do better than that. So don't be dishonest because that's bad. So there you go. These are the levers: level of detail, emotion, vagueness, exploration, rapidity, and sneakiness. I think there are more. And it's okay to push and pull a lever in either direction. You know, your job as an analyst is to choose how you do these. That's yes. So right. Sorry, I'm just going to move on here. Why has my clicker stopped working? I'll skip past that. Right. In fact, I'm in the interest of time. Can AI do this for us? One thing I would recommend you all do is upload Sample Superstore. If you're paying for ChatGPT, they have an advanced data analysis plugin, which is part of the paid product, and it allows you to do pretty powerful exploratory data analysis. It's not yet good enough, right? It's kind of like at a C or a C plus, B plus, B minus. Your skills as a human analyst completely kick this thing's ass at the moment. But I think it's a skill we need to keep adopting for the future. Right. And then, so let's summarize. Playing around with data is an absolute privilege using it in Tableau. It's an art and a science. You are trying to find the right chart choice. You're trying to find the right way to push and pull the levers. Jonathan says, please no to ChatGPT. I've tried to do actual production data analysis with ChatGPT, Jonathan. It just doesn't work. It gets so frustrating and the prompts get longer and longer and more convoluted. It isn't good enough. It is going to get better, and who knows where we're going to be in 3 years' time. Hopefully, I mean, I'm still optimistic. Data analysts are not going to lose their jobs, but it is a skill I think we might need to keep our eye on. If I was to abstract the whole power you have as a data analyst, it's this. It's exploring and finding the right chart is a squiggle, and only Tableau gives you the power to start looking at a data set, go down multiple rabbit holes, bring new data in, start honing in on the right way to look at data until you know you have the best output. Currently with AI and currently with all the other products on the market, you don't get that squiggly choice at the start. You don't get that blank canvas on which you can explore and play and be creative. So you build these charts, you find the best articulation, you publish those, somebody asks another question, and then you can go back into the exploration process. And what are you doing when you're doing this? You are thinking about the audience, thinking about your levers, the right chart choice, ignoring AI for the moment. And there you go. With that, I will stop and take a breath and a sip of water, and we can go and look at some Q&A. I hope that's been useful. I'll put the links to LinkedIn and newsletter in the chat. But for now, thank you very much.
Andy, that was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Yes, by all means. By all means.
Thank you.
Raj, I know you were trying to keep up with the chat. I was over on the Q&A. Are there questions open for Andy? Something that might have come up that that's still open. Or for that matter, anybody out there, if you have a question, please, now's the time to raise it.
I think somebody, it was not for Andy, but it was I'm not sure, but no. I know, sorry, Viraj actually answered it. Sorry. I had a comment saying somebody, a question
Yeah, I
was
took
not.
care of that one. I saw that one. I took care of it.
Yeah. Oh, there's one from Keith. What if your client wants the bells and the whistles? Well, if they want the bells and the whistles, you have if you're a consultant and they are paying you, then there is an argument to be made that you build what they request, but through very, very gritted teeth. I do think, though, you could also provide, as part of your service, a level of education and really dig into why do you want the bells and whistles, and keep asking the question why. And then it might be because they've got this mistrusted data, or it might be because they actually want the chart to be published, on a poster in their lobby rather than in a business dashboard. And then as you tease out the core reasoning behind what they want, you might find a better solution.
Just by a word of mention, Keith is a frequent visitor out on the forum. Good to see you out here, Keith. I'm glad you can make it today, and I hope you enjoyed the show today.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, Viraj has answered that. So this chap here, this is Hans Rosling. Viraj has put a link into his TED Talk, just mind blowing. And he wrote an incredible book which was published just after he died, called Factfulness, which I would highly recommend you all read.
Okay. Well, I thank you very much, Andy.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Andy.
But it took quite a bit of time to get this put together with everybody's vacations and conferences, but it was well worth the wait. Absolutely fantastic, and I do thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Well, one question for you, Andy. Which tool are you using to present?
This is all PowerPoint.
Yep.
Do you like there's a feature in PowerPoint called a zoom. So what's going on this slide here? This is called a PowerPoint zoom, which allows you to go in and out of particular sections. So it's quite a nice feature.
Cool.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Laura, are you about ready with a Kahoots quiz for us?
Yes, let me turn my video on.
And we take over the screen when you're ready.
Yes, I will. So I had some questions up, but then they didn't match. So I was like in the middle replying to the chat, making the quiz on the side. So I will be starting soon, and let me share my screen. It's telling me. Give me a minute. I have like multiple different. Oh.
For those of you who are astute, you might have noticed that Laura and Klaus and Reyes are all in the same coffee shop.
Yes.
Amazing, isn't
it? I don't understand that. Ready to go, Laura?
Yeah.
Okay, there
Let
you
me know
go.
if you guys can see my screen. I'm gonna do classic mode.
Oh, I've turned my phone off. Oh, can I do this in my browser?
Yeah.
I need to do this on my phone.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Let me know if you want the music or not. So if you don't like the music, then
I'll play the music.
I'll play the music. Okay. If you can see the pin, you can join online or on the app.
Since we're all data nerds as well, one of the things I really like about Kahoot is the way it double encodes the choices with color and shape. So when you're choosing A, B, C, and D.
I like that.
Yeah.
I've made some questionable choices, but hopefully people think it's funny. And I'm trying to see how many, 40, 50. Is that okay? Are we reaching 65, or do I wait for
getting to that point where the popcorn stops popping?
Yeah. If one more. Okay, 70. So I'm gonna start so we can kind of go over. Okay, I'll wait. We have a few more people joining. I'm gonna try and wait until we reach 80. Okay, 5 more to go. Oh no, 74. Okay.
We should get started, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna get started. Okay.
The drum roll.
For some reason, the music is not here.
Yeah.
I don't think my questions are. I took some straight out of the PowerPoint presentation, so.
I got it wrong.
Oh, Andy.
Wow, Laura, you're making it very difficult.
Yeah, it's not measures. You can create measures with parameters, but they're not new measures you create. And I try to make it fun, but yeah, I picked it up straight from the PowerPoint. Local variable which we can replace a constant value. So awesome. I'm gonna go into the next question. Let's see who. Oh, Sam S.
Nice, Sam.
Yep.
Well done, Sam.
Next. Let me see. It's a multi-select. So I hope I got this right. I also used the PowerPoints. I had some random questions that didn't match the presentation.
Although this question is a multi-select, but unfortunately parameters aren't.
Yeah.
I got that one wrong as well. Oh my God.
Like I accidentally, so like the correct choice was all the above. You can do all of it. So people who chose all of that, you're right, but you can do all of the things I mentioned. So just FYI. Let's see. Ooh, Sam S. Okay.
Sam still.
Kelly.
Sam.
Yeah. Some
Kelly,
people
Nick,
got-
and Shasta has gained paces.
Are there any questions about my presentation, Laura?
Yes,
Hopefully
yeah.
I can get those
You're
right.
gonna get there.
All right.
Yeah, I am going kind of in order. I didn't mix it in until now, but
Laura writes the questions on the fly, Andy. She's a superstar.
Oh, I see. Right.
because I had presentation, I had some questions
I
about
was-
the
I was-
parameters, but yeah, I don't know if it's a tricky question or not, but I hope I have the right answer. Yes, so it does let you change a parameter. I believe that's right. Let's see. Ooh. Oh, that's
Sam.
okay. Sam, you fell away. I'm not sure where you went, but Helen. Your questions are coming up, Andy. Don't worry.
You create a new measure with another data. Interesting.
I just had to say something. I didn't get anything funny.
You had to
Ooh.
say something. Oh, nice.
Lisbeth,
Nice
awesome.
match.
EA.
EA.
Okay, 20 players. Good job, 20 players. I'm not sure who you are, but oh, I have a lot of questions about the parameters. I didn't realize.
What did we
Okay.
use in the top n parameters?
That's too much of a specific question.
That's, yeah.
Sorry about that.
What is top n? I like that response.
Over my head.
Oh.
Yeah, if you can think that, that's basically how I felt, and then I had to. Good job, guys. I remember he specifically mentioned that, so I put that in there. Okay, so let's see who. Ooh, Lisbeth. Okay. So what do we
Nice.
have?
Close.
Okay, let's see the next question.
Who is the new
Yeah, so
user?
this is. We have somebody here, so if you guys know, if you have seen all the congratulations, please remember who it is. I remember who it is. So
Yeah. Let's see.
We should see 100% correct answer.
Oh, baby.
Oh,
Ooh, some people chose okay.
Some people might have joined late,
yes,
right? I
yeah,
mean, they
right.
might have.
Yeah, somebody just joined for Andy's session, you know.
Yeah. Sorry about that. It's Viraj, but
Yeah,
most of we got it right. Awesome. Congratulations, Viraj, and
thank
just
you.
wanted to mention it again.
Elizabeth.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ram.
Oh, Ram. Okay. Awesome. Let me go to the next one. I believe this is where Andy's questions start. I'm not sure, Andy.
All right, let's hopefully. Oh,
It's a multi-select, so you can select two answers. There's two answers.
oh.
I think it's
I hope I get this one right.
yeah. You just don't have a data story, Andy. You just look at the before you have look at the data. You need to have a story set. Let's see. Ooh, good job, guys.
Hey, I
Yeah,
got it
right.
Yeah, you. I don't know who chose don't have data story. You do have to have kind of a data story.
Mm,
Well, but then you get into the semantics of what a story is,
Yeah,
don't
we
you?
do.
right.
You know, if you're just showing a bar chart, it's not necessarily showing a story.
Yeah, you don't have to. But
So whoever said that, I'll, I'll go with it.
so Tom T. Okay, let's see the next question. Okay, that's a typo. But yeah, how do we design on abyss? So
Oh,
Did you get it wrong?
well, I thought that was multiple choice.
no, sorry. I don't know what I
Well,
put.
I don't think
but
I'm going to get that one
I
right.
think that's a, like multiple choice, but I think the way that I have it should be.
Yeah.
Oh, I failed my own quiz. Dear me.
All of the
Well
above.
done, everybody.
That's okay. But yeah,
Nice.
I chose everything, so I had it depends.
It's
Depends.
all good.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see who. Okay.
Ka.
I don't.
K-A-A.
It's another leader.
Yeah, quite the change there.
Yep.
Let me see what this is the last question. So this is a bit.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not sure. I hope I have it the right way, but I think you can choose multiple answers for this. So.
No,
No,
that was a single
Well,
choice.
it does make
me too.
lifting heavy things easier. So
Ah, okay.
Oh, I
Sorry.
got it right.
Yeah, I
There we
realized,
go.
okay. It was supposed to be multi-select, my bad. But yeah. Okay. Awesome. So this was the last question. So
let's see now who is.
okay, it's the
Let's see the
podium.
podium as
Ooh. Oh, Sam.
Sam
Oh
as
wow.
3.
8 out of
Nice.
9.
Didn't see on the chart. Ooh, EA. I think I remember EA last time.
Right. K-A-A or
Oh, that was a
Clue.
surprise.
Nice.
Okay. Awesome. Ooh, we do have
Very
Carrie and
good.
Nick. Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you guys.
Awesome, Laura.
Yeah, no problem.
Wonderful
Thank you.
questions. Yep.
Let me
And we
stop
really
sharing.
appreciate you do it on the fly, right? So that's so awesome.
I find it challenging, so I like to do that. So I think
Yeah.
that's
You're
Right.
doing a great job on that. So
thank you everybody. Let me stop. I stopped sharing, so hopefully you guys don't hear the music, but I do.
Well, that's it for today. And I hope everybody had a good time. And I hope to see you all next month on the 26th, where we're going to be talking about Tableau Prep. And Viraj and I are going to talk about dynamic formatting of numbers. We had some questions on that today, Viraj. So,
yes, yeah, we did have. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for coming.
Right.
Thank you again, Andy. It was a great time. And
Yes.
we'll see you again next month.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you,
Bye, everybody.
Thank
you,
you, everybody.
Andy.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear people had fun. So that was very nice to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey,
I'll stop the
on.
recording now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.